in family or hearth or warm cider. Curl up under a quilt of your dreams. We watch for the coming of dawn, the bringer of hope, and the promises of the summer. I'm going to ask Barb to dim our lights. The lights will be dim during a portion of the service. And then we will later light our tea lights. And I can't see a thing. Even though we live in a time of modern convenience, the time of electricity and central heating, we still yearn for the light of the sun. I find the sun so energizing, and I find these dark days tend to sap out my energy. The word Yule means wheel. And as the wheel of the year of the seasons turns, we call upon the sun, reborn in the warmth of the night. It's a custom to burn the Yule log on solstice night. And today, instead of burning the log, we will light its 3 candles. The first candle is to honor the year that is past. It leaves us with all of its memories, good and bad, happy and sorrowful. We light this candle to symbolize, to honor and celebrate the ways, great and small, that each of us has triumphed over forces that would have shaken us, that maybe caused us to abandon our beliefs temporarily. It wanted us to give up our faith or to lose our identity. So I light this first candle of the past, and I invite you to think of a challenge that you had in this past year, and it might be time to start letting go of. Our middle candle is for the light present, the moment of change and rebirth of the life force. It honors the now, this moment. So what is the intention you want to set for your day or your week? The third and last candle is for the new year. Because for people who celebrate solstice, the new year starts after the solstice ends. For the life reborn, the growth of peace and love. We light it to honor hope in an anticipated future. All the solstice and the coming of the new year, the past, the present, and the future, they're all layered upon each other and intertwined. They all influence one another. So what might you want to think about for the new year? Something you want to lean into, a light you want to lean toward. So I ask all of you, think about what you could give to this community in the following year? Can you give a sense of belonging? Can you give yourself permission to belong? Can you strengthen some of our programming by maybe giving us some time? Can you give of your love? We gather, we are a connected community, we seek life's deeper meanings together. Maybe this is a place you just come because you want to gather and contemplate. And your presence here is the gift. So later on, in a moment, I will ask you to come light your tea lights and come up and place them on our altar. Now, because of COVID, this is going to be a tricky little, I'm going to call you row by row. But we'll do that after we call the spirits. So again, I think I mentioned Shantae was going to be the coordinator of the service, but she can't be here today. So I want to thank everyone who jumped in to help. And we are now going to call the spirits. So we are going to start with Kathleen. Our spirits are located in different places around the room. We will call air, fire, water, and earth. And because I'm not a pagan, I have messed up the order, and so I ask you all to just be forgiving.
On.
And please beware, our readers can't read their words, so they're going to have to turn on their candle first, probably. I don't know, either way works.
Fire. Winter is the time for sitting in front of roaring fires for warmth and candles for light. Spirits of fire, be with us today.
Water. Winter is the time of snow, with water turning into ice and Jack Frost nipping at us. Spirits of water, be with us today.
North, earth. Winter is the time when the earth is bare, and most trees have no leaves. Like a great stone, I stand solidly. Here I am, growth and stability, and live in you, and you in me. Spirits of the earth, be with us today.
Air. Winter is the time for cold winds and freezing breezes. Spirit of the air, be with us today.
So as I mentioned a few moments ago, think about what you can bring to UUFM. Just your presence, your time, your love, your sense of community. So I would ask us to light our tea lights. If you don't have one, there's extras on the chair and on the empty chairs. I'm seeing some very creative tea lighting going on out there. I love it. We love it. So being aware of COVID, I'm going to ask you to come up really probably almost one by one, and let's just do it. We'll start with Kathleen, and we'll just go row by row, complete row by row, and just bring it up here. I'm going to get my mouse back on.
I think that's Linda.
I do not want to forget Eric over here. Can I light it for you?
Yes, please. Thank you.
So in this moment, just notice how much more brightly, how much more celebratory our lights are as we gather them together. So I'm wondering if Barb can bring our lights up maybe halfway, ever so slightly, just ever so slightly. So this is a solstice story that Shantae provided. It is not the one we used last year or the year before. This one involves a lot of celebration by children. So let me tell you a story about when the sun began again. It was the middle of winter and the sun had grown very old. All year long the sun had worked very hard, rising and setting day after day, all year long. The sun had fed everybody on the earth. Giving energy to the trees and the flowers and the grasses so that they could grow and feed the animals and the birds and the insects and the people. All year the sun's gravity held tight to the spinning ball of the earth and the twirling ball of the moon and the planets as they traveled around and around until the poor sun was just dizzy from watching it all. Poor sun was tired, and could barely make it up in the morning. And after a very short time, needed to sleep again. So the days grew shorter, and the nights grew much longer, until the day was so short, some days it seemed so almost not worth getting up for, or maybe not worth getting up for at all. But the night felt sorry for the sun. The night felt compassion for the sun. For the night was generous and kind, even though it was cold and bright in its own right. So the night said, "Come into my arms. Rest, sun child. After all, I am your mother. You were born out of my darkness billions of years ago. And you will return to me when all things end. Let me cradle you now as I shelter every galaxy and every star in the universe. I see them all." So night wrapped her great arms around the sun, and the night was very long, long, long indeed. "Why does it take so long?" asked the children. To their parents, why? Why does it take so long? We want to go out and play in the sunshine. Will the sun never come back again? But the old ones were wise, and they said, this to the children, "The sun is very tired." Notice how it's the old ones who know what tired feels like. The sun is very tired. But maybe if you children say thank you for all the things the sun does for us, the light may return in the morning. The children were so glad that they could be part of working on this problem for the sun. They were excited. They sang songs. They thought about all the things the sun gave them, including time for play. They said, "Thank you for growing the lettuces and the corn and the wheat. And thank you for growing the trees of the forest so we can play with them. And the seaweed of the oceans. All yucky and slimy, and isn't it great? And the krill that feeds the whales, because whales are glorious and mysterious." So the children danced around and they stirred the air. And they said, "Thank you, sun, for bringing rain when we need it and warmth when we need it. So the sun could hear all this merriment and started to feel just a little bit brighter, a little bit warmer, maybe just stretching ever so slightly. But wrapped safely in the arms of the night, the sun thought, can I do it? But the sun kept feeling a bit younger, a bit more supple, and was called by those voices of the children. At last, it was time for the children to go to bed. Everyone said, it's time, it's bedtime, it's even past bedtime, it's way past bedtime, because we didn't want to interrupt your merriment and your gratitude. And the kids would say, no, can't I stay up just a little bit longer, because I want to see the sun. And the old one said, nope, you have to go to bed. But then the old ones changed their mind a little and they said, you can try, but you'll get too sleepy. But the children said, we can do it. And the old ones said, no, why don't you light a candle? Each of you light a candle, because all fire is a spark and the sun will recognize it. Put your candle in a safe place up here on the altar, and it will keep vigil for you to sleep and dream of sunrise. So the children lit their candles, and they put them on the altar in a safe place. And the flame was a little spark, and the sun could see it. The sun peeked out a little bit and said, those are fine fires. And the sun felt even warmer and brighter. And now the sun was even flickering out those beautiful, beautiful rays. I'm sure scientifically they're called flares of some kind. Sun flares. So early in the morning, the old ones, they woke the children, and together they climbed the high hill that faced east. They sang songs to the sun, and they ran around keeping warm. They waited and waited to see what dawn would bring. And the sky started to turn from black to indigo to blue. And slowly the sky grew light. The golden glow crept over the horizon, and night opened her great arms, and in a burst of brightness, the sun appeared, new and strong and shining. For in the long night, the sun had rested well and grown young from the songs and the thanks of the children. Born of night once more. Everybody cheered, and the children jumped up and down and up and down. The sun has returned. The people danced and they sang, and eventually they were so hungry they went off to prepare the break-fast feast. In a few minutes, we're going to sing The Bleak Midwinter, and we are going to be in this story. In the cold and the dark. And, I took away your tea lights so you can't see the words. So let's bring up the lights just a little bit more. So the words are in your order of service, they are on the insert. Please join me in singing. In the just know as we turn from darkness into light in just a few days, that there is hope and there is a different time coming. And I know for some people in the winter, it is so hard. People struggle with depression. People struggle with being away from their families during this time of COVID. Sometimes we struggle with being with our families, let's be real. And I just know, maybe not your immediate family, but as we gather for holidays, there can be some stress as well as joy. And just know that this community is here for you in the dark winter and beyond. So we are going to turn up the lights. So I'm going to ask all of those sitting who have called the directions, Lauren and Kathleen and Greg and Suzanne, you are now going to turn out your candles. As the seasons turn, we bring the light. We raise the sun from the dark of night. We now close the circle of the directions. We extinguish candles, spirits of the air, the earth, the water, and the fire. We thank you for being with us, and we bid you farewell. I was warned by Shantae, if we don't release the directions, they sometimes like to stay and create mischief. So while I wish you some happy mischief, I wish that it also be under your control, not the spirits playing tricks on you. In a moment, we will pass the baskets for the offertory. You'll notice the baskets are divided, and our charity remains this month also our Sunday sandwich program, because this church started the program of serving lunches in our community to the homeless or to people who are just really financially on that edge. There's an entire lunch provided on Sundays. It's served at the library. We should be so proud of this. We are initiators of this, and Patricia Fay keeps this going along with several other members of UUFM. And we should be so pleased that we responded to the need of no food being served in our community from Saturday morning until Monday at dinner. And something had to be filled that gap. So you can donate to the Sunday Sandwich Program, you can donate to UUFM, and I know all of you donated your spirit and your time and financial donations as well.
Sometimes I get the feeling like I just stayed on bit ago. Sometimes I get the feeling like a better man and we never was. Just then a chord is drawn. All the pain there is gone. There are storms and there's storms and there's storms through the night. Oh, the waves, how they rage and they crash deep inside. Oh, and when the wind howls and you feel you've lost sight, you'll be guided back home by one lonely light, lonely light. into the air out of trace. Just then a chord is drawn, and all the pain there is gone. There are storms and there's storms and there's storms through the night. Oh, the waves, how they rage and they crash deep inside. Oh, and when the wind howls and you feel you've lost sight, you'll be guided back home by one lonely light, lonely light. Oh, I'll sing for you. What more can I do? Oh, I'll sing for you. There are storms and there's storms and there's storms through the night. Oh, the waves, how they rage and they crash deep inside. Oh, and when the wind howls and you feel you've lost sight, you'll be guided back home by one lonely light, lonely light, lonely light, lonely light.
So this is a time where we kind of share announcements, things going on in the community or at UUFM. We can leave our microphone to you, or you can come up here and use this one, but please use the microphone. Please use the microphone because otherwise people can't hear you.
So Reverend Margot mentioned Sunday sandwiches, and I just want to let you know that our volunteer base has dropped. We're down to about a total of 18 volunteers. At one time we had 36, and only 5 of those 18 are from our fellowship. So if you would be willing to give a Sunday afternoon from 12:30 to 3 of your time, sometime between now and February is what we have scheduled right now. Please do let me know. It would be very much appreciated, and it's such a blessing to do it and interact with these folks, and they're so appreciative. And the other thing is the winter shelter. This next week we've got temperatures dropping down to in the 20s for more than 2 nights, and so I'm sure by then the winter shelter will be open. And if you can take a shift, or if you can cook, or either one of those things, let me know on that as well.
And let me say about the Sunday sandwiches, you're part of a team, it's not you solo. And it is, you will be amazed at what a good time you will have. I know it sounds complicated or maybe uncomfortable, but you'll be just amazed at how good you feel while you're there and afterwards. Yeah.
I'm Ken here in the back, and I just wanted to check in with you about our vision committee met at 8:30 this morning, and we made some fun progress today. We're thinking about how to group our values and then envision what will result in living those values, and we grouped our values into 3 groups. One we're calling campfire, what we're like when we're together, interrelational, inclusive, listening, beloved community, those kinds of values. And then directional, when we're out of the camp and on a journey, the adventure part, the spiritual exploring, outreach, the removing barriers, environmental and social justice issues. And then the third thing is foundational, the ground that we camp on and the ground that we travel on, defined by justice, integrity, courage, collective wisdom, responsibility, and those sorts of things. So we're really excited about this grouping and the phrases that we'll create around them.
Thank you.
So I want to point out that in your order of service are details about Mary Martin's memorial service. Mary Martin, you've seen the article on her in the News Register. And although Mary was not a member here, she's a member at First Baptist, Rob and Cheryl Martin are members here. And so there, if you want to attend her service, there are details in your order of service. And I want to announce that we have hired a new coordinator of children's religious exploration. Hooray! And one of the things, she will be here January 2nd to meet you and meet our kids. And one of the things we need from you is donations so that kids can make rain sticks. So we need the, they're not doing that the first Sunday in January, but if you've got wrapping paper tubes, can you bring them on January 2nd? And also your paper towel tubes will do just fine as well. I'm just picturing the Jedi play that's going to happen down there. Yeah. Blessed be, right? We can have our children feel as powerful as Jedi. I have asked Patricia Fay to help us with our chalice extinguishing word, so maybe we can get her a microphone. And then after we extinguish our chalice, we stop our live feed, which is going out to Facebook, and so we can share our joys and concerns without being concerned about a public persona.
Ready?
I'm ready.
We extinguish this flame. Say it with me, please. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I encourage you to come up after the service and take one of the tea lights. You might not even want to take the one you put up there. We're a community. You might want to take on someone else's. I'll leave that to you. So we are going to